All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pursuit of Relentless podcast. You have your host here, Alaina, and today we are going to change some lives because you are here to be intentional with your time, and I'm super excited to have you. Today I have Steph Winger on the show, and I'm so excited to have a fellow Canadian sitting in the house with me. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm super pumped to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. So we met like last week, and I was like, she is my jam. So I'm excited for you guys to get access to her. And
Yeah, we got stuck in that little breakout Zoom room together and was like, oh, we did our little homework and then we like went off on our own rabbit trail.
little tangent. I'm like, this person needs to be on my show. Anyways, so I would love for you to share what got you started in entrepreneurship and what that journey has looked like so far, because I know that a lot of people who plug into my show are new entrepreneurs and people who are just getting started in their businesses, or people that are like, I would love to be an entrepreneur, but I don't know what that's going to look like for me. So, how did it start for you?
Oh, awesome. Well, just even starting like the name of your podcast, like Pursuit of Relentless, like I think people really need to hang on to that word relentless because you need that if you want to succeed as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I caught the bug like in my late teens. Like I remember being like 18, 19 years old and wanting to have my own business. Um, I didn't at the time, and it wasn't until I was in my early 20s and just kind of like saw this sign. It's like, call about a career in real estate. And I'm a little bit competitive, and there was a guy I'd gone to high school with. I thought, okay, if he can be a realtor, so can I. So I called and, became a realtor, like went through all the courses and the licensing. And at that time, I was kind of thrown to the wolves, was promised all of this training and support and didn't have anything.
Mm.
So I was like a rogue agent out in the wild trying to figure things out on my own of like how to get clients, marketing, all of that stuff. And mind you, this is like when the internet was really just going. Like we literally had physical MLS books. So the websites were a massive expense. Like there was no Facebook, there was no social media marketing. Everything was old school.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm also in this industry where it was still really male dominant. Like I remember being sitting at a kitchen table across from another realtor and getting the like, how long you been in the business? And like, okay, little girl. And that like it would tick me off, but it also fueled me. And through just a ton of like persistence and stubbornness, like my mind was made up that I was going to be a realtor. Um, and I just made it work. And was it all success at the beginning? No. But I did finally find my groove and, you know, found a marketing company that was really based on working by referrals and based on relationships because I really do love people. Um, there's the occasional one where you're like, okay, maybe you should go work with someone else. But, and just like you, like in your background of like, you like helping people and you have a great product that you can improve their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so I, like to this day, I can remember like people's dog's name and random things just because I was so interested in them and I really paid attention. So I really focused the relationships. And that would be like one of my big tips for anybody getting into any kind of business or trying to grow their business right now is to focus on relationships. I know like there's so many shiny objects out there with websites and programs and funnels and leads and all of this stuff, but it all comes down to relationships. Like even look at you and I sitting here. We met through somebody else and we did another. So, finding clients, getting relationships, even like other people in your industry. But then I also built relationships with other, vendors, I would say, like plumbers and electricians and lawyers and home inspectors and, insurance professionals and mortgage professionals. I built a network because I wanted to be able to connect people. So relationships was a massive thing.
I think
And
that is a huge takeaway. If anyone is just like listening to the first 5 minutes of this, and then they're like, oh, well, what can I take away from this? relationship building, number one. Remembering little facts about people is huge. And connecting people, I would say, is my strongest forte. So that's why I love doing the podcast is I get to sit here and connect you with how many other people, and I have clients in Ontario and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, well, maybe my clients are going to find you and be like, oh, I want to, meet her and like connect with her. And then you get referrals out of it. And that's a big part of our business as well. I'm in finance, right? My main business is not podcasting. I don't make any money doing podcasts at this point in time. Is that going to change? Maybe, right? But at the same time, it's all about helping people and putting people in front of people that can serve them and help them in their own journeys, right? So I was just on that call with Ben Spangle about abundance alchemy. And I was like, what does that even mean? And he just said, sit there and ask yourself, like, what does abundance look like? And so I think about this when it comes to myself, a lot of that is my relationships, right? And the people who I've met over the years and the people who've been able to help me work through the things that I'm going through. And especially in the beginning of business, when you're like, I feel like I've been thrown to the wolves. And well, did I do it to myself in my situation? Probably, right? I had a lot of people that wanted to help me, but was I coachable? Not even a little bit, right? My ego is just like, I'm awesome. And then I'm like, oh, I have a lot of work to do, right? And it's just being able to go into those conversations with other people and just go, hey, what can I learn from this person? I think that's something that we really need to focus on.
Exactly. And you just touched on a second point, like being coachable and having a coach. That's something I invested in my business. And I didn't have a ton of money. So I thought I'm going to make sure that I utilize this coach's time. And part of it was tracking what my activities were.
Yeah.
And that's not my nature. But I thought if I'm spending this much money every month on a coach, I want to be able to say, yes, I made all my phone calls or I did all of my lead generation activities so that she knew how to direct me and how to steer me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just having a coach like in my real estate business was huge. But then, I do have coaches in other areas of my life. Like now I do, but having that coach for real estate was a massive game changer. So relationships, having a coach, somebody who can have that outside perspective, who's maybe a little bit further along, has been in the real estate business forever and, can coach you along, or a specific real estate coach. Like I would just say it's definitely worth the investment. Because of having that outside perspective, like you might have this great idea. Hey, I got this call from this lead company. They want to sell me thousands of leads and it's going to cost me $5,000 a month. Be like, okay, let's come back in and focus. Let's not chase this shiny objects.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just really kept me on track. And then the next thing was like managing my time, because I am like a very free-spirited type person and I get these grand ideas and I'll start on something and then another grand idea comes on along and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go do this, but haven't wrapped up all the other things. So I really got dialed into the 12-week year, and I'd read the book years ago. And then when the pandemic hit, I really I wasn't just like, yeah, I read the book, it's good. Yeah, it was nice. I utilized it like crazy, to the point where, we had like a worldwide pandemic going on in 2020. We
Mm-hmm.
were super locked down in Ontario, but as realtors, we were still working.
Yeah.
I had the busiest year of my life. My daughter was overseas on a youth exchange. My son was finishing high school. I turned 40. There was no celebration. I got divorced. I bought a house. It was insane madness. And I doubled my business.
Wow.
And I actually had and I was still managing in whatever way I could to have fun. I wasn't stressed with all of this chaos going on. I was able to double my business and manage all of the other things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it came down to having using this short cycle performance idea that the 12-week year is built around. I know Todd Herman's got a book, like the 90-day year. So this concept of your year is not 12 months. And during the pandemic, we were like, okay, we have 4 weeks because we don't know what 12 weeks is going to look like. We don't know
Yes.
what 6 months from now is going to look like, but we can put the blinders on and just do what we can in the next 4 weeks. So I had a group of other realtors. We met like 7 a.m., something crazy, Thursday mornings every week. It's like, okay, what was your score for the week? How did you do? What was your struggle? Like, why do you keep putting off doing this one thing? Like, we would challenge each other a little bit, but it was a quick 30-minute Zoom call. What was your score? What's your intentions for the week? Okay, cheering each other on. Like, it wasn't like a coaching call or anything like
Oh, it's
that. It was just,
accountability.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like anybody was penalizing somebody, but just knowing that we were accountable to ourselves. We had declared it to each other that, hey, my intentions for the week are this. And I knew I was like, I can't show up and say that I didn't do all of my phone calls. I can't show up and say I didn't accomplish this.
Hmm.
Sure, there was stuff happen that, I wanted to make 50 phone calls. I only got 42 done. Okay, at least I put some effort forward.
Yeah.
But having that structure um, was incredible for me, like for like my personality, especially like getting all the distractions out of the way. And so I really dug down deeper into all of this, and I became a certified 12-week year facilitator. Like, I just really immersed myself in it because I did have like this passion of helping other women in real estate. Because, you know, being my early 20s and there was nobody there to help me, I had this passion in my heart that I don't want other women to have to go through that.
Yeah.
Like, I really want to support women in business. I want to support men too, but I just feel like as women, we have some extra challenges. Like, number one, if you're in an industry that's male dominant, yeah, you're battling against that. And
Like,
then,
who do I ask for coaching around like my hormones? You know what I mean? Like how to run a business when I'm dealing with emotions, and like men don't really have the same struggles, right? And it's just like, okay, well, who can I plug into, or who can I look to for advice that's going to have advice on what I'm actually struggling with right now, And a lot of them are just like, oh, just do it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Like what does that even mean, It's
yeah,
frustrating. So I align with you
exactly.
on that for sure.
Yeah, so I just really, but then like beyond helping just realtors in business, I thought, you know what, I want to really help all women
Hmm.
entrepreneurs because we do, and even just think like we're often supporting like, checking in on our parents, or we've got a sibling, or we've got kids. Like, we have extra things that we're doing, and like we feel like we're responsible for, whether
Yeah.
we are or aren't, but we have all of these extra cultural things weighing down on us.
Yeah. We're natural nurturers.
Yeah. So we want to like be this badass, like, boss babe. But then we also want to be like the mom and the great friend and doing all of these fun things. And we're torn.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt. Like, I wanted to be, the mom showing up with the cookies at the bake sale and going on the field trips. But then I was torn, like, oh my gosh, what if a client calls? And then when I'm with a client, I'm like, oh, I wish I could be watching my kids' taekwondo tournament. And I
Hmm.
was always torn, but completely neglecting myself. And like 13 years ago, I got this diagnosis of multiple sclerosis.
Dang.
Yeah. So I'm like torn between like, oh, family and business, and totally forgot about I'm a human and I have needs. And um, like I did like an immediate lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And, I'm doing well. Like, my symptoms didn't go off the rails or anything like that. Um, but that's like furthered my passion of like, I don't want women neglecting themselves and like
Yes.
waking up and being like, oh, you've got a diagnosis of this or that, because they don't have that. Um, and I call it the right blend. People
Yeah.
are looking for work-life balance. I think balance is kind of BS. I'm picturing a scale and you've got like, oh, we've got two things that we can try and balance out. But it's more than that.
Yeah, it
We
doesn't
are
work like
our
that.
business. We're our business. We are a friend. We're a daughter. We are a spouse. We are all of these things. And sometimes we pour more into our business because we're growing it. Or sometimes we pour more into our family lives because we're going through a crisis, or our parents need us, or our friends need us,
Mhm.
or we're making a move across the country. Like there's different times and seasons for things.
Yeah.
So if we can create a blend of like, okay, for the next 4 weeks, I really need to ramp up my business. So it's like, honey, okay, we're gonna have to just go down from 4 date nights this month to one because I'm gonna really ramp up my business. But then we'll, the next 4 weeks can be focus more on your relationship. So just having that nice like harmony and blend of things in your life, and all of the things that you're doing are aligned with who you are.
Yeah.
Like this kind of comes into the alchemy too, like of you've got a vision of your life and you're thinking about this abundance. And then it's coming down to what am I doing today?
Mhm.
I've got this big to-do list of all of this stuff I'm doing, but why do I need to do this? Or why do I keep putting this one thing off?
Mhm.
Well, it's because it's not aligned with who I am. It's not aligned with my long-term vision, which means that it's not even getting me anywhere near my goals.
Mm.
So then you're getting burnt out.
Yep.
And then you've got resentment. And then you feel shame because you're pissed off at yourself because I said I was going to do these things. I'm nowhere near there. I don't have the fancy car I want. I didn't go on a vacation with my family. You're feeling shame and your guilt, and you try to start all over again. And then, our bodies respond with, hey, red flag, and then full stop.
Yep. And you have to honor that. Like for myself, along my journey, I started in business just over 8 years ago now. And I'm in a male dominated industry in the financial services world. And then I look at it and it's like, how do I get what I need? And then I've got super like I call it the beast mode, the beast mode comes out and she's a fucking warrior. Like she crazy. But at the same time, I look at that version of myself and I'm like, yeah, she's in there, right? She's in there. But does she need to be like full throttle all the time? No, right? And I had one girl in my business, her name's Michaela, and she was like, Alaina, I never thought I'd ever see you slow down. And I was like, well, it's not that I've really like slowed down. I've just adapted, right? I've learned more about myself. I've grown. I've changed who I am, like with all of the things that I've gone through with my fertility journey and stuff. Like my body's not what it was 5 years ago. My brain is not what it was 5 years ago. I've changed. I've adapted. So what is important to me? Where are my intentions, right? Alchemy, that word, is transformation of matter, is what it means. So if you look at transforming yourself and transforming what you want with your life, that all starts with your intentions, and your thoughts lead to what you create in your life and your actions, right? So it's like, okay, well, how am I intentionally helping myself? How am I taking care of myself? It took me going to a naturopath to have them tell me my body stopped producing cortisol because I'm so adrenally fatigued for me to be like, oh shit, I gotta slow down, like I'm sitting here just like literally running myself into the ground for what? For money, And I'm like, okay, well, I do love money, but at the same time, am I willing to sacrifice my own happiness, my health, for those things? No, I'm not, right? So the last 3 years have really been me just like looking at what do I need to do as a female, honoring my cycles, honoring what's happening in my life and in my body, and knowing that I'm not 100% in control of all of this stuff, right? But what can I do to be my best self, right? That's the pursuit of Relentless. It's changing the like. So I got the name for the podcast from Tim Grover's book, Relentless, and he talks about how if you hit your finish line, like what next? He said, so you have to just keep moving the finish line, and then once you become this best version of yourself, what's next? There is no best version of yourself. You just got to keep chasing what you want for your life. And doing that class with Ben Spangle, I've done a couple podcasts with Ben Spangle as well, so you guys can go back and check those out. But just now we did a meditation on like what our most abundant life looked like. And man, I'm just sitting there like smiling ear to ear. And in those moments, you just can't help but be happy because you're looking at what that abundant self looks like and you're feeling those feelings of strength and peace, you know? And I'm like just sitting there going, I can definitely create this for myself, but I have to be intentional about it. So asking for help, not being afraid to ask for help is a big thing, I believe. And like you said, things come in seasons and just honoring that within ourselves and just going, hey, right now, I really need yoga for my brain, and I'm focusing on my own personal experiences. Like, okay, how do I can't control that there's still relaxin in my body. So my abdominal muscles aren't really like jiving. So I still look pregnant, which sucks, like I'm just frustrated with my body. But how can I get over that? Is just going for a walk in nature and like listening to the water trickling down and like listening to my dog get excited running through the bush. And, it's in those moments that we find peace and we stop beating ourselves up for the fact that we're not where we want to be, right?
Yeah. And one thing I just jotted down, like being present.
Big
Like,
time.
you're frustrated with your body and what things are going through, but then it's like, okay, but also my body is an amazing thing and can do
Yeah.
miraculous things. And just like sometimes we have to get out of our head,
Mm,
into our heart and our soul and into our body and really listen to like, okay, what do you need right now? I need to be
yeah.
on, need to go hear the water, being present. And I really I'm keen on like my 4 week sprints because, as women, we have 4 week cycles.
Yeah.
And for women who aren't cycling, like the moon is 28 days coincidentally too.
Mm,
So why work against that? If we know like scientifically how our bodies work and how our hormones are at various times of the month, why not work with it? Like there's 1 week of the month where we are badass bitches, we're getting shit done, everybody out of our way. And then there's other times where we're like, okay, I'm going to get organized. I can get my receipts together and you're tying up loose ends. And then there's other times where you're like, okay, I just want to be curled up on the couch for 2 days. Everybody leave me alone unless you're coming for cuddles and coffee.
yeah.
So be okay with that. When we work along with our natural rhythms, it's so much better. And then even
Okay.
broader is like the seasons. Like we're in winter right now. And like depending where people are in the world, like winter, it's cold, things are hibernating, the fish are sleeping, the bears are in their caves. We need to be doing that too and like
Mm,
listening to our body. And like right now, I don't feel like going and kicking butt, but there's other things that I'm drawn towards. So let's
yeah.
plug into that. Because if we looked at our year as, okay, I'm going to run at 100% every single day this year, we can't.
Good luck.
Okay, guys, maybe a little bit easier because they're like 24-hour cycle, like a sun. But if we look at the seasons of the year, there's, time for planting and harvesting and then, getting the soil ready for the winter. Like there's times for everything. So if we plug into that, if we do rest now and then we're ready for the spring when things are sprouting and our business is sprouting, then we can be enjoying the pool and patio season in the summer, not feeling like, oh my gosh, I really should be doing a whole bunch of stuff. No, we did that stuff in the spring. We'll do the harvest in the fall. Like plan your things out like that. Like we are not
Mm,
going to be, making 100 phone calls every single day. No,
mm,
there might be 2 weeks each season we might do something like that. Or seasons that we're going to do other things.
mm.
So like follow the rhythm of nature. Find like follow your own personal rhythm.
Yeah, I love the idea of planting seeds because, especially in my business, not everyone's ready to talk to you when you first sit down with them. And like in your business as well, not everyone's buying a house tomorrow. So it might be 5, 10 years before you actually sit down and get in front of that person. And myself too, a lot of people think that just because I'm in the financial industry, they have to have money to sit down and talk to me. And I'm like, nope, that's not how it is. When I first started in business, I was $100,000 in debt and I was not doing okay. I didn't understand anything to do with money. And the first presentation that I saw blew my mind because I was like, why didn't I learn this stuff in school? Right. And it was in those moments that I'm like, if I can just take that information and tell someone else that information, it's going to better them. Right. And then I was like, oh, and I can get paid to do that. That's pretty cool, you know? And I was doing what everyone told me I should be doing as being a heavy equipment operator. And, oh, Alaina, you're a tomboy. Well, sometimes, you know, like sometimes I like being out in the forest and I like hiking through the bush or I like chopping firewood or whatever it is. But there's other times that I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do my hair today, you know, and like wear a necklace and stuff like that, right? And just be a little bit more feminine with myself. But this week in particular, I was talking to a guy that I met at the Chamber of Commerce meeting, and he's like, you got to host more events. He's like, you're a really good speaker. You're good at teaching people. And so when's your next event? And I was like, I don't know. Right. And so I was like, okay, well, I got to work on that. I got to work on that. When is my next event? So I act at the speed of instruction, which is something that I've learned through my business coaches, and just go with it and go, okay, what is it going to look like? So I said, my last event was called Maximizing Your Money. And I just taught people about money and finance. This time, I'm going to focus on the personal development side of things. And I'm going to talk about intentionality and, you know, being strong leaders and building a team culture and all of those kind of things. And so I put it out there yesterday. Hey, tag a speaker who you want to hear from. And my post was like not like widely received because I didn't market it or anything. I just literally like put it out there. But I had 5 people reach out to me and be like, I want to do it. I want to do it. And it's so funny because the people that I connected with, one of them I would have connected with before because I've attended his business. And he owns a company that he owns a restaurant as well as multiple pieces of real estate, as well as a company that has houseboats. And so we actually rented one of his houseboats during COVID because I wasn't able to really see my family because BC was really shut down and I didn't choose to get vaccinated. So I was like, well, I can't go to a restaurant or, you know, do anything freaking fun. So I was just so limited in what I could do. So we rented a houseboat. And so now it turns out he's like, yeah, I own the Fish and Duck. And I'm like, I love you already. Like, thank you because you gave me an experience during those years that I needed that family connection, you know? And so just being able to connect with him and then connect with other people in my community that have been here way longer than me. Like I'm only like 5 months into living in Port Alberni. And I'm just like, I still have like 3 friends, you know, like, I'm just like trying to put myself out there. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to just say, who wants to speak at this personal development event that I'm just like brainstorming at the moment? I don't know when it is. I don't know where we're going to do it. I don't know what the topics are going to be, but like, who's in? And I just had so many people just be like, me, I'm in. I want. And then like one lady sent me her resume. She's in tourism. And like, I'm just like, wow, this is so cool how I'm connecting with so many different people just by putting myself out there and going, hey, I'll plan it. You know, I like planning events. I like doing that kind of stuff. But then all of a sudden, boom, all of those connections are just flooding my way because I'm open to receiving, which is another big thing. You got to be open to receiving all of these contacts and imagine the connections that are going to come from them as well, right?
Love it. Oh my gosh,
Cool.
that's incredible. There's
Yeah,
some more contribution that you were talking about.
yeah, big time. Well, that's why I said like my focus for this year is contribution. I'm sitting here going, okay, I can't do a free event again because I gotta, you know, like put it out there that maybe we're going to raise money for a certain charity or something like that versus just running free events at my office, you know? So I'm like,
Right.
okay, well, then what does that look like? And I'm excited to have expertise from the other people who've actually been running big events. And one of the ladies is in government and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm excited to learn from people that have this knowledge and have 10 or 15 or 20 years more experience than I do when it comes to doing this kind of stuff. So I think if you can just be humble and just go, hey, I don't know everything. I don't know what this is going to look like, but I'm going to try it. That was me in the beginning of my career. I was like, I don't think I want to be a financial advisor. That sounds terrible. But the more I learned and the more I did it, the more I fell in love with it. And the more I realized that this is where I belong. Like, this is my lane. I'm good at problem solving, and I love people, and I love just like being able to give information and teach. And so I was like, I feel like this is where I belong. Whereas before I was like, not a chance I'm going to be any good at this. I'm a pastry chef, like just doubting myself constantly. But now I sit here and I'm like, I can't imagine what my life would look like if I didn't take that chance on myself, you know? And same for you, like in real estate, it's a hard world to be in today, right? Especially right now with interest rates being just all over the place. And, the world is kind of at a bit of a winter, like we were talking about earlier. And I think that people need a little bit of hope that things are going to come back and it might be different than it was before, but hey, we never know
Yeah.
what to expect, right? So how do we prepare ourselves?
Yeah. And that's where it came down to, like, during that time, like you mentioned, hope. During the pandemic, everybody's freaking out.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I reached out to everybody and I said, I'm reaching out not as your realtor, but like as a human being. Like, do you need something? And like I was kind of being a voice of positivity because we
Good.
had no idea what was going to happen. And so whatever the market does, like even with you in financial services, things go up and down.
Yeah.
Real estate, like I've seen lots of ups, I've seen lots of downs, but the relationships has been the foundation of my business. So
Mhm.
sure, it has affected things a little bit, but I still have that strong, solid foundation. And then, having a coach and then having a system with using like this right blend, it almost makes things more predictable. It's like real
Mhm.
estate, like you could have like 3 months with no paycheck and then have a big paycheck and then none. Like it can be so volatile. But
Yeah.
having a system in place makes things more predictable where you're like, okay, I know I can pay my mortgage every month and I can plan for vacations and everything is paid and it's less stress.
Mhm.
And a couple of years ago, I like took the leap to open my own brokerage. And it was just
Yeah.
like somebody had posed a question to me, like, would you ever open your own office? I was like, nah. And then 2 weeks later, when I met with them again, I said, so I've got my broker's license and we're opening this. It's happening. And within 6 months, I was open. And I used my right blend method to like plan everything out because there was like, incorporating a name and branding and a ton of stuff behind the scenes that you need to do to get prepared. So I sat down with various people. I was like, here's my timeline, here's where things fit in. And I had it open in 6 months.
Wow. I'm
Yeah.
literally in that process right now. This is my new office. Like I was telling you, this is the second podcast I've recorded, maybe the third, but one of them was just me. So, like, the second interview that I've done from this office. And I'm just like, what's it going to look like? And it looked totally different 3 weeks ago. But then I came in and was like, no, I don't like it. I got to change it. So I brought my desk from home here and I was like, yes, this is better, because my other one that I had that was provided with this office was like not a client desk. And I was like, no, that's not my vision. I gotta have my own thing. And then it's like I put my trophies in the window. So I'm sitting here staring at my trophies going, you are a champion. Like it's just that constant reminder, hey, you deserve to win. And you're like putting yourself in that mentality of being competitive, like you were talking about in the beginning of the show. But I think that when you're focused on what it's going to look like, you're able to create it better, right? Instead of just being like, okay, well, I didn't know I wanted a blue background, but I really quite like it. Like yours is green and it goes so well with your branding. Mine is blue. It goes well with my bull, right? The bull is
Yeah.
blue and green. And so I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool that my bull will look really good when I put it up there. So it's just getting to know, like you said, that perfect blend of what that is for you, I think is really important because it's not easy to take that leap of faith, but when you do it, man, it's worth it.
Oh, for sure. And then I'm sure it's like this in the financial services world too, where like, some of the big companies, like they've got like, I'm a $1 million producer, I'm getting the platinum award. So people would go and strive to get these awards every year at
Yep.
the expense of not seeing their family.
Yep.
So that was one of the pillars that I built this company on, was that I want agents to determine what their success is.
Mm,
So if it's a mom with kids and she wants to be at all the soccer games and hockey games and do 10 deals a year, and that is success
great.
for her, boom. I want to celebrate that. If there's the people who want to do 50 deals and that's their thing, I'll celebrate that. But also be at home and like, you know, have a life outside of real
Mm,
estate as well. And let's
mm.
celebrate that.
Yeah. So what I
And
do in my team, just like let's talk culture building for a second. So what I do with my team, I literally just posted it yesterday because I want people to start thinking about it. So I do my team get together every year in the summer. So this year it's going to be in June. And so what I did is I did a little Google form on what person is that core value, right? So we've got 5 core values: going the extra mile, leading by example, being the best version of themselves, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm saying nominate the person that you think is the most embodiment of that core value. And then I'm going to give them a little bit of recognition based on that, because I'm like, it's not always, like you said, it's not always based on numbers. It's based on, do they fit in my team? Are they bringing that energy to my team that I really want? Not, are they a good salesman, right? Some people are really good salesmen, but they're not good people, right? So I want to make sure that I'm recognizing people on their core values versus just their sales numbers, right? Some people don't want to recruit. That's fine. They don't have to, right? I love recruiting because I love changing people's lives. But at the same time, I'm sitting here going, that is the season of my business that is going to continue. But right now, I'm focused on finding the right people, right? Because I'm in a small town now versus a big city. And I'm like, in a small town, everyone knows everyone. And if I get the wrong people, that's not good, right? So I want to be really particular on who I'm recruiting and who I'm getting licensed, and, just focused on a totally different version of that. So I love that now my team, I had one of my teammates message me this morning, Kathy. She was like, Alaina, I don't know who to nominate. And I'm like, well, now you have to look for it, right? Now you have to think about that for yourself. What award do you want to get, right? What do you want to embody as your core values in your business? And then how are you practicing these things? Because if you're practicing these things and you're putting it out into the world and people are watching, well, they're going to be like, Kathy deserves that award. Kyle deserves that award. Alaina deserves that award, you know? And so I love that. And I'm going to do a really fun way for them to recognize themselves that'll remind them constantly of the fact that they are leaders and they are inspiring people and they're educating. And, just I love my slogan on my website is inspiring action through education. And that's why I love doing the podcast as well, is because if we can just give people information like you are right now, imagine how much different they can build their businesses and build their lives because of the fact that we've gone out and been like, hey, I've messed it all up. I'll teach you how to do it so that you don't have to have the same experience that I had because it was shit.
yeah, exactly. I will save you a decade of drama and
Yeah,
tears. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And
exactly.
I love how you said like action through education, because we are overloaded with information and we can
Yeah,
get data and stuff, anything at the tips of our fingers. But
yeah.
it comes to the action. Like, what are we going to do with the things that we've learned?
Hmm.
And, even if I could like leave a couple more things with the listeners, like, okay, let's say you're just starting out in business or going to be growing your business, like have that intentionality, but it's starting with a long-term vision and your goals. And
Yeah,
like, okay, what do I want to get done in 2024? And like putting it in the framework of a realtor, let's say it's, I want to help 20 families make a move. Okay, why? Like, why? How does that emotionally connect with you? Because you will never pick up the phone if you're not emotionally connected to why you're helping that family. The same with you with financial services.
Yeah,
Like,
big
why am
time.
I going to keep doing these daily activities if I'm
Mhm.
not emotionally connected to it? And, people with any kind of health goal, or relationship goal, if they want to have a better relationship with their mom or their partner, it's, intentional things that, okay, we're going to go on a date night, or like I'm going to spend the afternoon with my mom, or, have a weekly coffee with her.
Mhm.
That intentionality, tied to your longer term goal.
Yeah, one of
It's
the
gotta be
things
true to
that
you.
I incorporated into my evening routine is looking for ways that I love my husband. And I think that it's like so powerful for me because then throughout the day, I'm thinking, what am I going to journal tonight? What am I going to journal about? Reasons I love Kyle, right? And so I'm like, okay, I'm looking for things like, man, he may be working in Alberta right now, but I get to see him tonight. I haven't seen him in 3 weeks, and tonight's going to be awesome because I get to spend time with my husband, you know? And who knows, he's probably going to be so tired. He's coming off night shift. He's probably not going to have a lot of energy to give me, but man, I can't wait to hug that man, you know? And I'm just sitting here going, okay, even while he's in a distance, I've written just like years of reasons I love Kyle. And it can literally be one line or like just anything. And one day I'm going to give him that book, you know, and just be like, hey, honey, you may or may not read this, but here's some of the reasons that over the last couple of years, you've really helped me understand why I'm so grateful for you and why I'm so excited to be your wife, you know, because I think that we lose sight of those things in our day-to-day life. And it's not, I see it all the time. It's, oh, we're getting separated, or oh man, here, another divorce. And I'm like, fuck. Like, I just want to be able to help people
Yeah.
get through those frustrations. But like you said, you have to be intentional. And sometimes relationships don't work because you grow apart, and that's totally fine. But are you putting that effort into the relationship or are you not, you know? And I
Yeah.
see it all the time where people just they forget to do that. And even with their children or their siblings, and it's like, man, if you don't put in that time and effort, what do you expect to get back out of it? Like, I had to apologize to one of my friends the other day because I'm like, man, I just realized I haven't called you in like 6 months. Sorry. Like, been a shitty friend, but love you, you know, like I hope you're doing well. And it's just it life gets there and it gets in the way sometimes and you just forget. And that's nothing against you. That's normal, you know, especially when the people aren't in your face all the time. But what are you doing intentionally to put it in your calendar to touch base with people? Stuff like that. So I do every year I do Christmas cards, handwritten. I don't send out like generic messages. I do handwritten Christmas cards and I have a different message that I like to send out. So I sit with my message every year. And this year it was like, I'm just so excited to hear what your goals are for next year, you know, because that was something that I was really struggling with this year because I expected my year to look very different. And so I was like, okay, well, in order for me to be able to, you know, get excited about what this year is going to look like now, I want to know what other people are excited about. And so that was my message like, hey, I'm super excited to connect with you again and just hear what your goals are for the year. Because then it's them connecting to their goals and dreams, and it's remembering why they're saving money and why they're protecting their families and, you know, why they're excited that I'm their advisor. Because if you don't, then the silly banks are going to come in and be like, we can do all this incredible stuff. And I'm like, yeah, okay, if you say
Right.
so, right?
No, Alaina like cares about me. She wrote me a handwritten card. And I
Yeah,
like was thinking about this too. Like we, being in professions like we are, it almost becomes like our identity.
yeah, totally.
So like it was hard for me, I still have my real estate license, I own my brokerage, but I've got this other thing. Like, and you're speaking and you've got a podcast. Like we are not just our
One thing.
careers.
Yeah.
But I like how cool is it of like all of the wisdom and knowledge that we've gained from working with people and helping them figure out situations or like celebrating their wins. And now we can translate that into other things.
Mm.
Like, you're like making an impact and making a difference with your podcast. You're connecting people, like putting these workshops together. And it's like, that's not like on the roster of things for financial advisors to do. Oh, like I love that, you can disrupt a little bit and like break the mold of what, this is what,
Tradition looks like.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we can have both and in our lives. Like, you know what? We can have like a ton of fun with our friends and have a kick-ass business.
Yes.
We can take care of ourselves, and have a great relationship. Doesn't
Mhm.
have to be either or. Doesn't have to be like I can be a great spouse or I can be a great like business leader. Nope, we can have both.
Yeah. And you don't
But
have to be in business together to make that happen either. So
yeah,
I see
but
it
it's
all
that
the time in our
intentionality.
business. A lot of people in this business are couples in the business. And my husband's like, honey, I'm obsessed with dirt. I like dirt. I like being a heavy equipment operator. And I'm like, have fun, But then I think about it and he would never want to do what I'm doing. Right. So it's cool that we get to have our own fortes versus just building it together, but we're still building it as a team. It's just he's not going to get a license and be a financial advisor because that's nothing he's passionate about. But he's like, you need to talk to my wife, like he'll put it out there in his work environment, like, oh, someone's complaining about being in debt. Well, go talk to Alaina. Or they're like, oh, I'm looking at buying a house. Well, go talk to Alaina and she can set you up with all of these different, the savings plans and then the mortgage and then the house insurance and the realtor and the,
Yeah,
all of the thing. And then the realtor can set you up with the people like the lawyers and, the people that you need to deal with to get those things done as well. Because when you connect with one person, you get their whole network, which is
exactly.
so cool.
Yeah. And then, just walking into an institution, you're not getting that like trust and care that you are with somebody like you or I,
Yeah.
where they're not writing handwritten Christmas cards.
No,
Oh, your dog's name.
no, it's so crazy. But anyways, we're running out of time. So I want people to be able to get access to you. And if you have any final thoughts on how to just make your life more successful and feel good about what you're doing every day, what would you give the audience?
Oh, okay. I would say like you can find me on all the socials at Steph C. Winger. If you want to check out some of my fun things on there. And I go into more depth on like some of my program and stuff like that. But I would say, especially like for us as women, like I get up in the morning and I'm like, okay, how did I sleep? How am I feeling? What are my big three today?
Mm,
And those big three are attached to my goals. So it could be, getting my reports out to my accountant. I have to get that done today, or I need to do a social media post, or I need to make 3 phone calls. Those are like the big three. It's like the rest of the world could fall apart. My car can break down, but as long as I get those 3 things done, I'll sleep at night. And just focusing on the day and being present.
mm-hmm. I love that. I my business coach Andy Frisella, he's got a book that he has published that's it's called the Power List, and it's 5 intentional tasks, but some of them can be like personal, like I need to exercise today, or like I need to drink a gallon of water, and then I need to talk to my accountant, or like whatever it is, I need to plan my goals for the next day. And then he said just to put it at the like to bookend your day. So in the morning I've got these things that I do in the morning, and then I've got things that I can do at night, because you can't necessarily control what's going to happen in the middle of your day, but you can control what's going to happen at either end of the day. So a big part of pre-planning your day is putting into your calendar, when am I going to do those 3 tasks, or when am I going to do those 5 tasks, right? And just helping yourself solidify what that's going to look like, because tomorrow's going to happen regardless. So if you don't have intention around it, you're probably going to waste a bunch of time, right? So if you're really intentional with your time and you're focused on what that's going to look like for you, you're going to have a lot more relief and a lot less stress, because you're like, oh no, I know that'll get done tomorrow, you know? So
Exactly.
I think that's really powerful. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. This
for
is
all of,
great.
yeah, all your advice and just those stories of just learning how to get through navigating being a mom and being a business owner and all of those things and being a brokerage owner versus being a realtor, like there's so many different avenues that you had to go through to get to where you're at. I think the books behind you probably have something big to do with that as well. I really love personal development, and that's why I love doing this podcast because I can learn and grow and continue to challenge my own mindset and go, hey, what does it look like for me to be my best self tomorrow? Right? Or today. But anyways, we're a holistically grown podcast, guys. So make sure that if you got value out of this show, which I know you did, that you share it with a friend and tag someone in it who you think can get a lot of value out of it. Maybe you're going to share it with a realtor or someone in a similar field, that even a female, like a powerhouse female, that you're like, you need to hear this. I know that there's a lot of people out there who are going to get value out of today's episode. So if you guys want to get access to Steph, I'm going to put all of her information in the show notes for you. And feel free to follow. I love her social media. Her Instagram is on point. I'm like, I got to up my social media game, which I have not been doing, but I'm just working on getting my brain straight. So I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you for listening. Until next time, that's Pursuit of Relentless signing out.